You are grieving the absence of your son who was abducted by Boko Haram and is now fighting for them. Your husband has traveled to a village to farm in a desperate attempt to make ends meet, and you have been unable to pay rent for 3 months now. Then, the agent managing the room you rent with your children asks you to vacate the house. You are stranded. What do? You become the only woman house agent in Nigeria's Borno state. Welcome to Vestiges of Violence. Here, we talk about survivors. For Human Angle, I am Sabika. Ya Hauwa lost her first child to Boko Haram over a decade ago in Gamburungala, northeastern Nigeria. She had sent him to a local Islamic school, and there he was abducted alongside several other boys. She has not seen him since, but she hears he fights for them now. It is difficult for her to imagine her boy armed and fighting, but at least he is alive. Shortly after, she and her family were displaced by the insurgency. Years later, while farming, her husband was murdered by the same terror group that took her son. She has had her fair share of tragedy at the hands of the insurgency. How then did she rise to become the only woman working as a house agent in Borno State? One day, many years ago, as Ya Hauwa sat on the veranda of the small room her husband managed to rent in Maiduguri after they were displaced, she was asked to move out of the house. She had owed rent for 3 months, and her husband had been away in the village where he farmed. Helpless and broke, Ya Hauwa took her children and moved in with her mother. When her husband returned, he was so ashamed of the situation that he could not bear to live in with his mother-in-law.
Our men have a lot of shame. My husband came and gave us new clothes for Eid and money to help us maintain ourselves. He did not even stay long enough to at least drink a cup of water. He left immediately for the village. I decided right then that if a house agent could treat us so poorly because of our circumstances and change our lives like that I would also become an agent.
The business involved earning the trust of house owners, establishing herself as someone who could procure homes for others, and then selling or renting the houses to people. She did not care that she did not know any women who did the business. She also did not care that she did not sell or rent out a house in the first few years. She persevered until she made her very first successful sale. She has made many others since then. But it has not come without its own challenges. She has had clients who have tried to outsmart her because of the assumption that because she is a woman, she can be easily duped. Once, 3 years ago, a man came to her looking for a room to rent. He wanted it on the outskirts where it would be easy for him to retreat to the forests whenever possible, and was willing to pay any amount she wanted. Ya Hauwa sensed something odd and urgent about his request, and fearing for her safety, she said she did not have any houses available to rent, even though she did. She felt so unsettled by the interaction that she immediately contacted the Association of House Agents and informed them about it, providing descriptions of his appearance and the details of his request. Later that day, her suspicions were confirmed. The man was arrested. He was a Boko Haram member. Up until the unfortunate attack that took her husband's life 2 years ago, he was a steadfast supporter of her business.
My husband supported me 100%. I used to trade in his presence. He did his thing while I did mine. And when family later became difficult, it was my business that sustained us financially. Even now that he is gone, it continues to sustain us. It feeds us and clothes us.
Ya Hauwa estimates that the House Agent Association has about 60 people and she's the only woman in the group. She has sold over 30 houses and 30 plots of land. She has lost count of the houses she has successfully rented out. Currently, however, she is in charge of over 70 houses for rent. It is difficult to calculate the number of houses altogether over the years.
I have rented to soldiers, police officers, mopo, people from all walks of life. I have also had people attempt to bully me because of my gender, but I have the support of my association. It supports me 100%.
The profit turnover is also decent. There is usually a long chain of referees for each successful sale or rent, so she often has to pay a lot of people commissions. The highest she has ever made after deductions is 100,000 naira.
The day I made 100,000 naira, I was so happy. I went straight to the market to buy foodstuff.
The business does not erase the loss of her husband and son. However, it offers her a comfortable couch that makes sustaining what is left of her family easier. Right now, however, she is struggling. After the famous devastating Maiduguri flood last year, many houses she was in charge of were completely destroyed, affecting her business. She still hasn't recovered. But Ya Hauwa is a resilient woman. She knows recovery is only a matter of time. This episode was reported by Hawa Shafi Inuhu, presented by Sabik Abello. Multimedia editor is Anthony Asamota, and executive producer is Ahmed Selkeda. In order to protect the identities of survivors, we use voice actors for this episode. If you or anyone you know have a story to share on vestiges of violence, do not hesitate to get in touch with us.